Hello and welcome to Bernama Property Hot Seat presented by Sun Surya. I'm Vincent and with me is my co-host Kristan. Together with us today is two heavyweights in Malaysian property industry, both being past presidents of Real Estate and Housing Developers Association Malaysia. We have Tan Sri Dato Eddy Chen and Dato Seing Liong. Tan Sri was president from year 1998 till 2002, whereas Dato was president from 2006 till 2010.
Welcome, Tan Sri. Welcome, Dato. Such a pleasure to see two nations builder that's still standing strong today.
Yes. So we begin with Tan Sri. Now, Tan Sri, REDA represents the interests of property developers in this country. And any obvious difference that you can observe from the previous regime to the now Malaysia 2010? Because we have noticed that there have been many platforms, think tanks, forums to express channel feedbacks, opinions and recommendations to various ministries, including Ministry of Housing. But why does it seem that we are not seeing immediate feedback from ministry? What else can REDA do? Tan Sri, please.
Okay. Housing, of course, is a concern of all.
Okay.
And whether it's the previous government or the present government, I think there are a lot of emphasis on housing the people.
Okay.
Even going back, to even Tun Mahathir's time when he was his first tour of office, he has always emphasized, the importance of housing, And if you look at the house ownership campaign, it was actually initiated by him.
Okay.
And of course today, we have, gone one big circle.
Okay.
Back to Tun.
All right.
And I believe if you understand Tun again, he would be very concerned about housing and housing for the people, for the rakyat, And certainly, I think both government, if you look at it, are concerned, in terms of housing. But of course, the emphasis is now how do we go about it? When you look at the previous, previous time. I'm not just saying the government. I think previous time, where the economy, during Tun's time, it was running at double-digit growth.
So Tan Sri, are you happy with the current response time or by the new government itself? Are they fast enough to react to REDA's suggestions and recommendations? Are you happy with that?
I think if you look at the HOC, this new government, although has been in place not, just a year today,
okay.
But we have really run into almost a 6 month of house ownership campaign,
okay.
Which means that the speed is there,
right.
The response is there,
okay.
And if you look at it, when meeting with the finance minister, he was very empathetic.
Okay.
Towards the industry, and that is why you have this very quick response, and this is what the 5th month now in the HOC.
Yeah, sure.
I believe I would be very happy,
okay.
Sure.
If this momentum continue, and certainly we are not lack of speed in that sense.
Sure, Tan Sri. What about you, Dato? Do you share the same sentiment, because you also gone through the last of Tun Mahathir and now back to Tun Mahathir again, and across 2 more prime ministers in between?
Yeah, same sentiment at this moment of time.
What is the obvious difference between the first version and this reincarnation?
The first version, it includes properties of other properties like industrial and commercial.
Okay,
sure.
Whereas this time around, for properties above 300,000 and up to 1 million, whereas the last time the properties value.
So affordability is an issue. Okay.
And below 300,000, we know that it's already been exempted from the stamp duties.
Okay.
That's how they got the 300,000.
So there's the significant difference that
Yeah.
we see in
Sure.
the so-called the new regime itself.
Right.
Now, Tan Sri, very quickly, Radar members expressed their optimism for second half of 2019. But the number of unsold units seems to continue to rise. Latest numbers show that it is 30% up in 2018 as compared to 2017 in terms of residential units. Are this optimism by Radar members far-fetched, or is the sentiment turning positive very soon? What's your view on that?
I think if you believe, a lot of economists and analysts, on the property market, we are now, facing more of a flattish kind of a demand, a flattish kind of sales.
Yep.
And we are perhaps in a U curve.
Okay.
Again, like what I mentioned earlier, if you look at some of the initiative by the government, for example, the latest reduction in the OPR rate by 25 basis points,
Right.
I think that is moving in the right direction. That means if you look at house purchasing, the installment part of repayment for a house, to many people, like 80% or 70% of the installment payment are in the form of interest. If you reduce the interest by 25 basis point, you are virtually reducing the installment payment by maybe 5% or 10%.
Sure.
That make housing that much more affordable.
Right.
So I believe, like, if you look at if you think OPR is very important, interest rate is very important in stimulating housing demand, I think this is the right direction.
Okay.
Again.
Right, Tan Sri, if I can just again stop you, take you on that. If I'm going to put you on Dato, how do you describe? Is it oversupply, overhang, or is it mismatch?
I would use the word mismatch.
Mismatch.
Because if you look at the so-called overhang, see, the concentration is only more on in Kuala Lumpur.
Yep.
Right.
If we look around the whole country, actually there are a lot of places still okay.
Okay.
So to say that there is a big overhang, I don't think there is one.
So the right word is mismatch.
Yeah, okay, good. Gentlemen, it's getting exciting. We've got lots more to cover. We will come back after the break.
Comel kan? Rasa bahagia. Suka.
Seronok. Alhamdulillah, Ana. Syukur sangat. Membesar depan mata.
Terima kasih sebab selama ni berjasa dengan Anga. Anga harap dengan masa yang Anga ada, Anga sempat bahagiakan Mama dan Ayah.
Promosi hebat Ramadan dari Jintel untuk dihadiahkan kepada yang tersayang. Beli satu percuma satu. Anda juga berpeluang memenangi kereta mewah.
Jintel.
Welcome back to Bernama Property Hot Seats presented by Sun Surya. Chris and Vincent here, and together with us we have two past presidents of REDA, the Real Estate Housing Developer Association of Malaysia. We have Tan Sri Eddy and we have Dato Ng. So Dato Ng, want to ask you questions on this. Recently there's an announcement by YB Lim Guan Eng that, there's 9 billion worth of property have been registered during the home ownership campaign since its launch on the 1st of March KLCC. Can you share with us some latest figure and perhaps break it down to the many regions perhaps?
I don't have the exact figure, but I can tell you maybe the registration now from 9 million, it may have gone up to 10 million.
Right.
And I would say that we have 2 companies that have already registered good sales.
Right.
Like for example, Sam Darby have already indicated more than 1B. And also Prima under Tan Sri Eddy Chen has registered more than 2.5B.
Right.
So that itself will speak for the success of this HOC until this stage of time.
So generally the feedback has been positive?
Yes, very positive now.
Right.
And that one doesn't include other developers. I think the figures may have spiraled to 5 or 6 billion by now.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what about the fact that, there's a lot of saying to say that, the HOC is here to clear some dead stock, unwanted stock, bad location, bad planning. Is that true? Do you agree? What would be your stand, Tan Sri?
I think HOC, similarly to what was done in a previous HOC.
Okay.
This is to more or less stimulate awareness,
Okay.
I think is to generate excitement. I think that people has been holding back for a while. Worrying about their income, worrying about all the other difficulties in terms of their their life, the home, like I said, household income and so on.
Sure.
What HOC want to do is, to stimulate this awareness, and to offer, for example, previously, a few thousand in difference, in terms of stamp duty, may stop you from buying,
Sure.
a house, because then your cost of transaction it could be something that stop you from buying. But with this stamp duty waiver, for your loan and so on, it will help stimulate some purchase. And it is not necessary that the houses are in very bad location, but it's just that the transaction cost may be prohibitive to some people.
Right.
But then by reducing this, and of course developer throwing in a discount, a
Sure.
rebate,
Sure.
for the same property that has been sold previously.
I see.
Now the same property you reduce by 10%. Of course that
So that
stimulate.
that's okay, but so it gives the
uh,
perception that it's actually clearing unwanted stock. But in actual fact, it is an ongoing sales that needs to be done. But with
Yes.
this HOC, it actually stimulates and gives additional benefits actually to
additional
the buyer.
benefit, and it benefit more people in the sense
Okay,
that
good.
Right, Dato, both you and Tan Sri were involved in the first rendition of the
Yeah.
home ownership campaign back in 1998, I believe.
Yes.
You were both in the OC and all these things. I'm just wondering, what's the difference, Dato, between the last version and this version in terms of the context and the setting? Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the same thing?
Well, the volume at that time and now, because of the value, is definitely is lower that time, higher this time.
Right.
But in terms of the setting, in terms of whatever thing that we have done within that time, that was actually the starting
Sure.
of HOC was actually the spillover to MAPEX now.
Okay.
All
All right.
So that
makes
was
sense.
where the
yeah.
Tun at that moment of time, Tun Mahathir started this home ownership campaign.
Okay.
That's why credit have to be given to him.
Okay.
you
Right.
know.
Very
Then
good.
from there, over the past 20 years, then we REDA developed further into MAPEX.
Yes.
And now MAPEXes It's all over the Malaysia.
All over Malaysia. Well done on that. Now, Tan Sri, a very quick question.
I think to add to that,
Yes.
I think it's very important that there are different contexts.
Different contexts, yeah.
In the sense that in the 1999
1998,
HOC,
Yes.
we were just coming out of an Asian financial crisis.
I
Right,
see.
right.
Okay.
We need an
Stimulus.
economic engine,
Economic
a
engine.
boost,
engine
yeah.
of
Yeah.
growth.
Right.
And of course, then Dr. Mahathir, with his vision, that we need to have an engine of growth
I see.
to drive the economy and to, of course, create, sort of a stimulus, for the economy.
I see.
And housing, was then identified as one that would help to stimulate the economy, because if you look at it, it is related to so many downstream activities.
Sure.
For example, if we can stimulate the housing, then the legal profession, the manufacturer of glass, bricks, sand, cement, steel bar, advertisement, and all these things.
1,000
Very
over
important.
industries are
100
benefit.
over, yeah.
100 over. 140.
140.
So that is where the buy-in from the government then was very good,
Sure.
and actually we were successful in that sense that it does help to stimulate the economy, and until today,
Sure.
those who bought houses then, the NPL was so low,
Right.
because people
Well,
actually need those houses.
Sure. Thank you, Tan Sri. I think you make it very clear the setting is very different.
Yes.
So we
Environment
will
different.
hold you on your thought right now, because when we come back from a break, there will be more from the Bernama Property Hot Seat. We'll be back.
Wah, comel kan? Rasa bahagia. Suka. Seronok.
Seronok. Alhamdulillah, Ana. Syukur sangat. Membesar depan mata.
Terima kasih sebab selama ni berjasa dengan Angah. Angah harap dengan masa yang Angah ada, Angah sempat bahagiakan mama dan ayah.
Promosi hebat Ramadan dari Jintel untuk dihadiahkan kepada yang tersayang. Beli satu percuma satu. Anda juga berpeluang memenangi kereta mewah.
Jintel.
Welcome back to Bernama Property Hot Seat, presented by Sun Surya. For those who have just tuned in, Vincent and Chris here, together with two strong men of radar whom have contributed enormously to the association and still actively involved in supporting the association until today. We have Tan Sri Dato Eddy Chen and Dato Seing Liong. Now back to our topic. Now Tan Sri, one important content that is always discussed among the property developers and always keep on being highlighted to the public and also the authority is high compliance costs. high compliance cost is one of the major factors that hinder the lowering of the affordability of property prices. A consensus that is even acknowledged by the authority themselves. But however, they comprises of many different authorities. What's your say, and can you explain, elaborate on this?
Okay, compliance cost has several components. Starting with land, for example. You look at it, when developer buy raw land, they need to get it converted. And when you convert this land, you pay a premium for conversion,
Right.
And previously, the valuation is based on a different, category. However, now the valuation is now quite different because land price has gone up a lot. And, when you look at, you value it based on 75% of market value, or, depend on which state you are from, a high percentage of the value of the market price, and then, calculate that based on that percentage, then the amount of premium paid is very high. It can come to 25-30% of your purchase price.
Right.
I see.
Added on to your the purchase price, and if you look at it, that bump up your land cost. And then of course now your development order, your building costs, all these other compliance. For example. Those days, when we buy a piece of land, maybe 70%, of the land can be buildable.
Yeah.
But today, you look at 45% of the land, which means that you are now surrendering 55% of the land to either retention pond, to widening of road that is much wider.
Lesser net area of land that can be used for your development. Yes.
Area,
Okay.
And of course, then you come to, that is the land planning stage. Then you come to look at utilities, there's a capital contribution to utilities like TNB, IWK, just for the instant, you're talking of 1% of selling price and all this, that bump up your cost again.
Yes, that's right.
At the end of the day, it varies from state to state compliance costs, and then it varies from project to project.
Sure.
Landed, may be looking at a much higher compliance cost, can come to 25%, 30%, and then of course strata property may be looking at a lower compliance cost, but then again, if you divide it by the number of units, again, you look at a high compliance cost, and therefore you look at houses, why is today's houses that much higher in proportion to the income
I hear
of the people.
Correct. I can see it's a big chunk of it. What would be a solution, Dato, you think, in relation to lowering these compliance costs?
So, very simple. Actually, the state government will play it. We know that land is a state matter. The state government will just have to do a different valuation of the raw land. First, when the raw land comes, as what Tan Sri Eddy say, you bump up from the raw land to your present value, and then only you add on to your your conversion premium.
Right.
And then over and above that, the local authorities charges development charges.
Sure.
So all these are about another bump
Which is
up.
why some state governments' reserves went up so high to the billions within such a
Correct,
short
correct.
time itself.
So if I may ask the next
Yep.
question, it's very importantly, I'm just thinking, right now you represent the housing developer of Malaysia, very important. And for all this while, as far as we know, it's always been the same model of you buy and you buy the land, you build and you sell, right? Are we looking at a change of the model soon? Knowing that Malaysia is very close to be a developed nation, so what I'm trying to think is that, are we looking at still build to sell? Are we looking at build to rent, or even fractional ownership? We don't have to sell the absolute ownership about this new thing. So what do you think as a new property development model?
Let's get Dato to answer this.
I would look at it this way.
Yep.
We have to separate the subsidized housing
Right.
and the open market housing.
Sure.
The subsidized housing, I would feel that should be done by the government, and that should be controlled.
Yes.
And people should not profit out of this subsidized housing. That means there must be proper control there.
HDB lah, like the Singapore.
And then you must have a system
Right.
whereby the government use the general taxation to do this housing. Then the open market, you leave it to the developers. Or certain percentage of the land for big development can be allocated for subsidized housing. Then that in itself will not create what we see today, the mismatch. And I don't want to go into the value of the properties because Malaysia is a very big country. Different states have their different policies. So we know that the states control all the land.
Sure.
So leave it to the states.
Right.
Okay,
And,
so point noted. I think this is a very important thing. The state government and the local councils plays a very important role itself. Now, gentlemen, thank you very much for your sharing today in our today's talk show. I must say that private property developers play a key role to shape our country itself and the country's economy. Like Tan Sri say, it affects 140 industries itself. Now, thank you for watching Bernama Property Hot Seat presented by Sansuriya. Today is our last episode for this season 1. And we have in total, in the 13 episodes, interviewed 7 ministers and 8 association leaders or presidents and several other professionals and celebrities. We would like to thank our main partners, Sansuriya Berhad, Jintel Group and Innova Group Malaysia for the support in this season. Until we see you again in season 2, Vincent and Chris signing out.